So I wanted to tell you about something that happened earlier, and I took the Micra out for a drive today. Jag is currently in the garage awaiting a couple of sensors, so I didn't take that one out. And I took the Micra out, so it was nice weather, and we went to have a look at the house that we're hopefully going to be moving into soon. And one thing that happened was got to a point in the journey where I was doing a lot of slow moving and manoeuvring around, not really going anywhere very quickly. And the temperature gauge basically went very close to the red. So I'll just draw you a picture of what I mean. So here is the temperature gauge. So you've got the red section up here. You then have the median range and you have cold at the bottom. The needle went to approximately there on the gauge, so you actually had quite a small section before it hit red. And I turned off the air conditioning, put the fan on to full, as in the interior fan. Then I turned the heating up to full, so basically to put the heater on full. And then I just basically continued moving and just actually sped up a little bit to get some air into the radiator. And this temperature gauge just went down, and then it sort of sat around here. Normally it sits around there. So it was a little bit higher than it normally was. So it was actually about here, normally sits around there. So I parked up because we were going for a walk, and I have a few of these relays in the car. This one used to be the engine management relay, and I had a persistent intermittent start issue. And because this is exactly the same relay as the one that is used for the cooling fan, or the cooling fans rather, I swapped them around. And what I discovered was this relay is actually toast, or broken rather, so it would work for switching the fans on to their low speed for the air conditioning, but it wouldn't work for the higher speed that's required if you are running them for cooling down the radiator. So once I replaced this relay, which is a very simple case, if you look at my previous video to do with renewing the engine management relay, you'll notice that it really isn't that difficult a task. But what I wanted to do is do a quick post-mortem to see if there's anything obvious in here that could be causing the problem. And it looks okay. The relay does move. Sometimes you can actually test them by applying voltage to them. So I have somewhere do this. Of course, you can test them by applying voltage to them. So I have this. Let's see if my janky method works. I've literally just touching it with a 9-volt battery. You would have expected some kind of movement out of it, even by just doing it like this. Actually, on here there is a little picture of how it goes. So pins 1 and 2. So here's pins 1 and 2. They're obviously they look like they are the supply voltage. 3 and 5, which is these two, should be triggering the relay. So I'm actually wondering if it needs basically supply voltage and then another one to trigger. So let's try that. So supply voltage, like so, trigger, like so. Now it's not 12 volts, but you would expect to potentially get something out of it, even like this. And I think we found the problem. It's quite possibly a dead relay. And that is the issue, it would seem. Let's just check this again. Yeah, there's actually no link between 1 and 2. 3 and 5 is the switch. 1 and 2 is the supply. And obviously 3 and 5 is where the switching comes in. I think if this is the case, then this is basically just a high-speed relay, because the low-speed relay for both fans was coming on absolutely fine. I think this was used, or is used, when you go into a high-speed situation. So what have I learnt? Well, first off, I was on the money when I thought that the relay was my problem with the engine management system. And second off, always keep a selection of relays of that type in the car, well certainly in the K11 Micra, which I do. I've got another 4 of those actually in the car, so if I have any problems again I can just replace them. Very easy to replace, to be honest with you. Now let's actually see if we have, see if I can measure continuity at all. Now if you have a situation where your car is unexpectedly overheating, don't panic. First thing to do is to immediately get the turn off the air conditioning, because obviously that's just going to put extra load on the cooling system, because you've got a hot condenser in front of the radiator. If you can, if you're going downhill, try and coast as much as possible so that you're not generating any extra heat. Modern engines will actually shut off the fuel supply above a certain speed, so if you, there's no braking resistance across that, that's fine. There is a bit of resistance, but there's no brake in that. So let's try this one. So if you happen to be coasting, there is a brake in that because that's the switch. If you are coasting, then you're not going to be using as much fuel, you're not going to be generating as much heat. Next thing to do is to pull off somewhere safe, so get yourself pulled up somewhere safe. Keep the engine running with the interior cooling fan running as hard as possible, just so it settles down to an idle. Then get the bonnet open, and after you've got the bonnet open, shut off the power, so you can actually just let the engine cool down with the bonnet open. Obviously if you've got the bonnet open, heat is going to be able to escape a lot quicker. The next thing to do is, after you've left it for about 5 minutes or so, just relieve a bit of pressure on the cooling system. So you want to use a rag or something sort of thick material just to undo either the header tank or the radiator cap. Depends on what type of system your car has. The Micra has got an expansion tank set up, so you would actually release pressure on the cap on the top of the radiator. Other cars may have an expansion tank set up where you would just release pressure on the cap on top of the expansion tank. Once that's done, you can just let the car cool off, and what you want to then do is either continue on your journey carefully to get yourself home, or if you, in my case, know what the problem is, you can substitute the high-speed fan relay with one that you know works, and once you've confirmed that's working, then yeah, you can safely continue on your journey. If in doubt, always make sure that you call your roadside recovery backup. Once you get the car home, you can check the coolant sensors on the radiator to make sure that the fans are running properly. So you can actually take the connector off, bridge the connector. If the fan starts to spin, then the problem is with the coolant temperature sensor on the radiator itself. And yeah, there you go, because it will actually bring the relay into action as well, because that coolant temperature sensor actually acts as a switch, which energises the relay, which energises the fan. And yeah, there we go. That was just a little video, which was a bit of fun. There's obviously absolutely nothing in here that I can see that is the obvious cause of the problem. The only thing I can think is this actual switch has gone. Because I would have expected, even if I'm just applying 9 volts to it, I would have expected this to do something. I would have expected it to sort of chatter in some way. But yeah, there we go. Anyway, hope you found this video useful. If you have, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Once again, thanks for watching, take care, and see you soon.